Hey everybody, we're here. The show that has yet to be named. I'm here with JohnnyDonuts 777. I'm here with Puttyman. Putty. He has like 18 channels. They will be in the description.
Wow, really?
To all of them. He has a channel called P, a channel called U, a channel called TT,
and
Y.
I'm just spelling out channels all together and you just add them together.
So when he puts them next to each other, it says Puttyman.
It forms Voltron.
Well, hey guys, we're reviewing a thing today. It's Peacemaker, the DC show on the HBO Max. And I watched it, and I know Putty watched it probably twice already. So I'm gonna let him tell you what the show's about.
There's this guy named Peacemaker. He was in the Suicide Squad made by James Gunn. Now he's on a mission to think about what he did to a certain character in the Suicide Squad and about his life choices and his horrible family and Eagly, his best friend. And then what he and of course being part of an organization of crazy government. He's basically a superhero that's like a really messed up superhero, really messed up.
He's basically a vigilante, but his name's not vigilante.
Anti-hero.
Yeah, not to be confused with vigilante.
Vigilante.
No, wouldn't you say more of an anti-hero?
Yeah,
he's go ahead.
Let's say it definitely feels like since it feels like, because I know we talked about Booster Gold and the other video and everything, but it definitely feels like they're going more for him being their version of Deadpool, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like not fourth wall breaking, but like the comedic, rated R type of character, if that makes sense.
I don't disagree. I think that they're forcing that aspect onto this character.
Yeah, exactly.
Not whether or not it works is we'll get into.
It's not something that was initially in the comic book.
Yes. They just decided, James Gunn decided that this is going to be Deadpool. Well, actually, Vigilante's kind of like Deadpool.
Yeah, the combination is like two sides.
Okay, well, let's not drag on the non-spoiler part first. This is, so, I mean, in terms of just general for the show, in my opinion, I think it started out a little bit weak and it progressively got better in terms of writing. I think the show was funny from the very beginning and it stayed funny all the way until the end.
Yeah.
Sometimes it pushed the funniness in situations where it didn't need to be funny, but I still think it was generally a funny show. I do think the first half of the season, writing-wise, was very weak.
It found its foothold after about episode 4 or 5.
I would say like mid episode 4, the character stuff starts to get really good in episode 4. And then the actual story for the show is like in episode 5. It really starts to all come together, and I'm glad it did, because I wouldn't say at all it was bad in any way. But
no, it was an enjoyable watch. It was funny.
Like Boba Fett to me, in the sense where I was kind of losing my want to watch the show by like episode 3. I was like, there's nothing. The comedy's great, but there's nothing here that's holding me into the, like, I have to see next week. You know what I mean? But
I gotta say, John Cena's comedic timing has improved, though.
Oh, excellent!
No, of course,
his acting in general improved great.
He's definitely on this. I don't think he'll ever reach Dwayne Johnson's status as far as wrestling to acting, but he definitely is like the closest to second. Like there's nobody else I would say that we.
I think he's better than Batista.
Yeah,
I agree.
Who James Gunn does work with as well.
I think Batista has good comedic timing, and you could see that as well. But I think Batista lacks range. He he's either full goofy or full dramatic. He doesn't really know how to like balance do the two. But John Cena in this, at least, because even in Suicide Squad, I wasn't very impressed with him.
Yeah.
But in this, I think he does a much better job. And
I think they gave Cena a bit more free reign in the TV series than they did in the movie.
Yeah, well,
this was based on him. Right? Yeah, because it's based around him, right? It's not based on the rest of the team.
I have a question. Do you think for people watching this that they need to see Suicide Squad before seeing this?
No, I don't think so. Like, I mean, yes, there are some things that you would understand better, but I don't feel like you need to see it.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Here's my thing. I don't think you need to, but I feel like especially in a family dynamic, if you understand what I mean, it makes actually the Suicide Squad make more sense now. if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like I feel like now that I've seen this,
I think
Suicide Squad makes more sense.
If you didn't watch Suicide Squad at all and just watch this, I think you would probably be okay. But I wouldn't watch this and then watch Suicide Squad. If you're gonna watch them, watch Suicide Squad first, because then after you watch Peacemaker, it helps a lot with Suicide Squad, I think.
Exactly,
well, I mean, Peacemaker spoils the ending of a bit of the Suicide Squad anyway with Rick Flag, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Spoilers.
I just said Rick Flag.
Yeah. Wow. Don't say his name. His name is Flag Rick.
Harley Quinn. Oh, spoilers.
Okay, so I don't think we need to get much more into spoiler free than that. Yeah. Unless you guys have anything specifically spoiler free that you want to talk about. No. Okay, so JD, go first. Out of a dozen donuts, what do you rate it?
I would give it 7.
Wow, that's significantly lower than Boba Fett. I expected a little more. I'm surprised.
I was expecting more. I find the whole plot if we're going to go into spoilers, the plot with the butterfly was very, very weak.
Yeah, well, we won't go too far into that, but that's introduced right at the beginning. So, Putty?
Yeah. I mean, me, it's if it's going to be out of 10, I don't know. See, it depends on the thing. So, I mean, I would say
give it all later.
Yeah, I want to do 8 because I enjoyed it. I think I'm the only person in this world. No, there's a lot of people that did that actually liked the intro music. Like everyone else I talked to, they hated it.
That lost the point for me. That lost the point for me.
Really, that was the one thing I actually liked. I enjoyed that song and I love that intro. Like it's so. It gets me motivated.
Before I give my rating, I'll give you my take on that. The first episode, I was like, haha, the dance is funny. And then as I progressively kept watching the dance down the line, it started getting more annoying because I couldn't tell if they're just really bad at dancing or they were intending doing it on purpose. And then it became less funny because they're trying to make it funny and it wasn't. And
plus, I'm not a fan of Wigwam either.
Yeah, I hate that song.
That's the first time I actually heard them. I never heard that song before.
To be honest with you, I hated most of the music in this show.
I actually really loved it. But
I don't like hair metal at all. But I mean, there are some good songs there.
Well, he had some classic punk in there, like some Hanoi rocks there.
Well, there's stuff. Hanoi, I love that. I love that part. I actually discovered them from the show. So, anyways, but hold on. I'll give my rating. I would say I'm not solid on it yet, but I'm going to say a 7.5. I think it's one of the better things in the DCEU. It's around the Aquaman range. It's a little bit less than Suicide Squad for me. But I think it's definitely worth a watch. So, if you came for the non-spoiler, that's it. And we're going to open it up in 3, 2, 1, spoilers. So
all right.
I loved a lot of the Easter eggs.
Yep. Easter eggs were good.
The
little nods.
This show handled the Easter eggs so much better than Boba Fett did.
I agree. But I love how they joked about that stuff too. Like whenever they just nonchalantly like add stuff in there. And especially like, for example, which I'll get into it later because I'm going to talk about the whole, the last part of the show, in the big thing they showed.
The reveal at the end.
Yeah, but it was nice to hear them like cussing. You know what I mean? Like things like that. They were like, those type of characters you wouldn't expect, and you hear it and you're like, thank God.
But it's like, how they really wanted to do, or our fans really wanted like a Flash and Green Lantern thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the DCEU goes, I don't want that. I want a Flash and Aquaman movie. I think their dynamic they have together, I've said it always from the beginning, I think their dynamic together is so good. They play off each other so well because as big, tough, brooding guy as Aquaman is, he's kind of like a jackass. Like the way
he's a jerk.
Talks. Yeah, he's like a jerk, right? And then Barry's just like an unknowing, like goofy guy.
Well, I want to chime in because I bet you guys didn't know this. I just found this out today, and it is a true fact. That scene was shot with, like the green screen special technology.
Yeah. And
DC did not have the technology. So James Gunn went to another corporate entity, and they said yes. Yeah. The technology that was used to bring Aquaman and Flash to this series was provided by Marvel.
That is hilarious,
isn't it? And they literally went and gave James Gunn approval. He barely even had to ask.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
it's
at this point, he kind of has them hostage because they want Guardians of the Galaxy 3 so badly that they're like
Let him do
basically
whatever he
would've done
wants.
yeah, you could do whatever you want.
But it's so cool to know that actually like
And
they literally on the stage
and
of Marvel shooting.
It's
a
funny
DC.
too because they're gonna lose. They're about to lose him, right? Because he's gonna go all out in DC. He's gonna start
Yeah.
making all kinds of shit in DC. You're gonna get
Oh yeah,
Peacemaker
because it's so
season 2.
successful.
You're gonna
I
get
think they
another
may
Suicide
give I
Squad.
think they may give the reins of DC to James Gunn.
Like,
I don't
he's gonna
know
be
if I
their
want
Feige.
that,
He's gonna-
but I like
He's
him
going to
to
be kind
there.
of like the Kevin Feige of DC.
I don't want that. I want him to be there with them, like Anthony and Joe Russo, or what that's their names, right? But I
Yeah.
don't want
Russo
him
brothers.
to be in charge of the universe. His vision is too goofy, and I don't
Yeah.
want
Yeah,
that.
we
is
need
silly.
some serious parts.
Because I noticed especially with this series, he's going back to a lot of his trauma roots, like Slither, for example. His movie Slither, it was kind of like a goofy, gory kind of movie,
It was a
and
horror comedy.
yeah, and this had a lot of those like early trauma films or like early James Gunn film elements to it as well.
This is, to be honest with you, if without the guys at Marvel like controlling what he was doing, this is how Guardians would have been as well. It would have been full out batshit crazy. Like, not that it would have been bad, because like I said, I still think the show turned out good, but I think the whole tone of Guardians would have been different if you gave him full power.
What I love that Gunn does, and he does a good job of it, and that's why it would scare me for him to take over, is because I feel like Gunn is much better at taking characters that are not well known and making into something that's charismatic or enjoyable to watch.
Agreed.
But when you take someone like Superman or Batman that
That's what I
already have
mean.
a staple,
I don't want him
it's
to
not-
have his hands on Batman.
No.
That
yeah,
doesn't
because
make
you don't want him
sense
to have
me.
his own take, because
Yeah.
the problem with stuff like Batman is there's so many different takes to Batman, and the thing is you still want to stick to the core thing that Batman is, so you can keep the audience that knows him.
100%.
And if
Yeah.
you go too far off of left field, like with Polka Dot Man, or again like Peacemaker, you're going to lose the audience. And no matter how much you try to do something different, you can't go too far left. And I feel like that's what James
Agreed.
Gunn is good at, going far
I
left.
think he's expressed interest in it. I think you let him take on the reins of these characters that you want to make money off, these L tier characters, but you don't want to give him power over the A-listers. So you let him do Plastic Man because he wants to do that. You let him make another season of Peacemaker. You let him make the prequel series for Polka Dot Man. You let him make another Suicide Squad. Keep giving him these characters. Let him make not Deathstroke. What's his name? Not Deadshot.
What?
Bloodshot. What the guy?
Bloodsport.
Sorry, yeah, I'm sorry. Let him do a Bloodsport series. Let him do a Ratcatcher 2 series. If he wants to do stuff like that, let him do it, because he's going to take people that nobody gives a shit about that you have and turn them into moneymakers. And that's what you want.
You said,
what if he does a Batman versus
Plastic
Condiment
Man.
King?
No Batman. He can't have Batman.
Not even if it's with the Condiment King?
Zero Batman. Nothing to do with it.
Well, yeah, Plastic Man seems perfect up to Zally. Like, I feel like Plastic Man would be one that everyone would love. You could franchise it so much with that, and it has way more open range for someone like him to do.
Exactly.
And to take it to something to where that could be Deadpool status, even more than Peacemaker, because Plastic
Let him
Man,
do Booster Gold.
Yeah, well, yeah, I agree. Booster Gold would be that one. And Plastic Man and Booster Gold are the two.
Make a buddy cop movie. You literally have it in your hands. Booster Gold and Blue Beetle. Ted Cord, Blue Beetle.
He could do a Lobo film too.
Yeah, there you go. And the Putty would love that. You could have
I
Tom
would
Hardy.
love that. Yeah, exactly.
But that's what I mean. You could use him in better ways than making him run the thing, because as far as I'm concerned right now, James Wan is doing a good job with Aquaman. We haven't seen the new one yet, but from one, Andy Muschietti seems to know what he's doing with the Flash right now. And as far as we can see about everything else that they're making, they're all on track. Patty Jenkins just needs to recorrect what she did with Aquaman.
Wonder Woman,
and go back to where it was in the first one. And I feel like right now DC's in a decent spot, because even though like a majority of their movies weren't as good as Marvel's, I mean, they're still all, I would not say any of them are terrible. Even Suicide Squad, as long as you watch the rated R cut, it's not terrible. And the fans are on board. You have the fan base. Somehow you didn't lose the fan base through all of this. So it's like, it's crazy to me. And Marvel guys, the fans of Marvel, the casual Marvel fans, seem to be open to having just more superhero movies, which is great. I mean, the hardcore Marvel fans online, good luck trying to get them to watch anything else.
No.
But I mean,
But someone like myself who's not a Marvel, not a DC fan, just a comic book fan in general.
exactly that. But for comic books, I'm on it. But you know me, I love Marvel characters. I love the cartoons. I love the TV shows. I love the movies. The comic books, I have my moments with. But I'm not a big Marvel reader.
See, we're the opposite in that way. I actually was spotty with DC. Like, I love DC, don't get me wrong, but you know how I am.
Yeah,
I'm way more knowledgeable about Marvel.
The same way.
You know what I mean?
We're the complete opposite of each other for that. In terms of this show and story-wise, like we were talking earlier, I mean, one of my issues I had with this, Putty was there with us actually for the Boba Fett, is that I think they gave a too small of a character too much of a world-changing story. I mean, they handled it well in the sense that by the end they had closed the book on it almost. So it's not going to affect the universe going forward, which was actually smart on their part.
Well, it was kind of poking fun at that trope. Well, why don't we call the Justice League, right? It's like in Marvel movies. Well, why don't we call the Avengers? Well, they're busy. Like, well, what are they doing? Like,
but at least they actually like had them come in.
Yeah,
that was the great thing. And see, that was the other thing too. Is
you're late, dickheads.
Right? Like when it comes to like, especially in the DC world, Marvel, whenever I hear something, 90% of the time, like, oh, I'm familiar with that character because I've at least heard of them, no matter what. When it came to all the characters in Peacemaker, Peacemaker was the only one that I sort of knew. You know, I mean, not even from the Suicide Squad, just like is mentioned through going through comics or Wizard magazine, that kind of thing. So when they came up with all these characters, of course, I did my research when I came to do my reviews, things of that nature. And what I come to find is they literally gave full range, like his father, the whole situation with the vigilante. These are not characters that have anything in common.
But I knew about the characters too, of like Harcourt and Economist. They're in Agents of Argus.
Harcourt is
I'm referring to more
is the double agent.
Yeah, but she takes over for Waller at one point. She takes
over, but she's really not even an Argus agent. She's really a Russian spy or something.
Yeah.
And Economist takes over at Belle Reve. He becomes head of Belle Reve.
Because imagine Abaddon, like, for example, imagine if they actually did that and she did become back as a double spy, or like the Russian thing. And then she's like, you literally judged me for what I did to Peacemaker. And now we come to find out that you're working as a double agent. Like, this would be something that would be mind blowing, especially the way Peacemaker feels about her, to add that as something that happens later on down the road.
After Eagly, it's his BFF.
Yeah.
Well, Vigilante was great.
Yeah.
Yes.
It took a while to grow on me.
Yeah. He started coming in.
Oh, what a hot take on Deadpool. I was like, Jesus Christ.
No, he really started to come into his own in that scene where they're torturing him and they're like, if I keep changing my face, he won't recognize.
Yeah. After that episode, I think he really started to come together.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this: when I was doing research, because the thing is, there was stuff that, like, I'm happy when I know something, but then it's like, okay, it takes me longer to set out a review because I want to do research and make sure I get right information. And like later down the road, like when it came to Easter eggs early on, they were great. Later on, we didn't get as much Easter eggs in the series. Like if you look, I think it was between the last 3 episodes, there was no like inner Easter eggs. Like the whole Batman.
You know what though? I'm okay with that because at that point you want to focus on resolving the storyline instead of just like, oh, here's an Easter egg for the sake of an Easter egg.
That's how Boba Fett fell apart.
Yeah, they were just trying to add too many like nods and Easter eggs, and I would even say the ending of the second season Mandalorian suffered from that too. They're trying to add too many characters all at once.
Well, that's actually what I was going to jump in and say. The whole thing with the butterfly and the caterpillar or the cow, however you want to look at it, that whole thing, I was trying to search deep for anything in the DC lore, and there was nothing. I was like, how do I not know about these characters? Because I feel like, especially like that huge caterpillar, how have I not seen that? Like I knew Starro and all those kind of characters. Like, how did I not know about it? And come to find out, these were created characters for this series. And that's when we started losing all the Easter eggs. And I was kind of happy about that because here's the thing. I love knowing knowledge about when it comes to Marvel and stuff like that. But sometimes you're right. I get excited. For me, it's exciting because I get to make my videos. You know what I mean? But when I watch something like Peacemaker, if you go look, but my videos literally don't even say Easter eggs more. It literally just says review and reactions. It's just
Yeah.
me reacting to the video because there's nothing for me to do in the Easter eggs for. But I'm loving that because the reason is like when things kicked in or like the emotional parts, I got to actually show how I reacted to it. And it became more enjoyable, if that makes sense, because I wasn't ahead of the curve. I was literally just like everyone else when it comes to watching, if that makes sense. And
But
I'm
I like
happy
that
I did
little.
that.
I like that little nod to the Suicide Squad in the final episode where Economist is going down the stairs. He's like, "Not another goddamn kaiju," and he goes running back up the stairs.
Yeah, it did. But see, like things like that. These are my small issues that I have with the show.
Yeah.
What about looking at that giant like child like caterpillar thing made you
With the
run
one
away?
tooth.
Yeah, like what made you run away from it? Number one, and number two,
Because he remembers Starro. That's why he
only
said not
mission was
another.
to bring the helmet there, right? He
Yeah.
could have.
Right.
If I was him, I'm just spitballing it here.
I would have just
right
thrown
from
the
the
helmet.
top of the stairs. I would have looked down that cavernous gap in between, and I would have just dropped the bag down because no one would have seen the bag there. Instead, he
Yeah, but they
literally
would have heard
places
it.
it down on the stairs. It was all a setup for that guy to pick it up and walk outside with it and holding it. That's
I mean,
what they
true.
wanted.
I mean, true. You're right. But I'm saying, like, I can even understand it if they were to explain it. They'd be like, well, they would have heard it because he was literally right above them. So if he would have dropped it, it would have made a punk sound and they would have turned around. He was too much. You got to think, even though he's like, what about me? Because prime example, they show his fear and how much he's scared. And prime example is when they say, Abido, we need you to stay behind because you're the only one that's here for backup. He's like, what about me? That's the whole humor. He's scared of pretty much everything.
He literally
you know?
broke his leg in half trying to climb over a piece of wood.
I know.
Like literally right after that.
Exactly. So I mean, I'm
It's just
happy.
my point is like I'm not saying these are like killer moments for the show.
No, I get it.
But there's
Yeah.
little things like him crawling. He couldn't even move. He's crying on the floor, but he crawled fucking a kilometer with a helmet and brought
And
it.
then
to
he's
them.
walking at the end of the episode.
Yeah, like
But
it's stuff like that. It's little attention to detail that they're treating the viewer like they're dumb. And that's the kind of stuff for me as the way I watch it. You know, I'm way more critical. I notice stuff like that, right? Like,
but it takes you out of it.
At the end, if what the butterfly was saying is true, then John Cena killing it was the stupidest decision ever. But then also John Cena killing the butterfly after everything it just said, killing its food source, killing all of its friends, and then it still came back to hang out with you at the end. I was like, none of this is making sense to me.
I know. That's the part that really fucked on my head when he was sitting down with his dad, and then he poured, but right before that though, when he pours the honey on the ground, and then the butterfly comes to eat him, like, what? One, why is there still a butterfly alive? Two, I mean, okay, I'll say yes because there are a lot of bodies that probably the butterflies came out of when they shot him.
It's the main butterfly. It's the one from the girl.
It's off, yeah.
But then two, why is it suddenly okay? I mean, I understand it's going to be hungry now because there's nothing of the cow left, but like there's something like why would he kill? Like you
that's
said,
what I mean. That's my point. There's a lot of little moments like that it treats the audience like we're not paying attention to what's happening, and. I mean, they're not killer moments that hurt the show, but it's little things that I'm going to take off after like 30 of these. I'm going to start taking points away from the show, right? And early on, the shows was so goofy and dumb. And there was a lot of reoccurring jokes I loved, like him jumping and not being able to ever land, no matter how high he jumped from. He would always fall until he figured it out with that. He does the one and he finally figures it out. But the early episodes were a little bit too over the top for me. And as a DC fan, it's not that I want everything to be dark, but I mean, it felt like they were completely ignoring any story and just trying to be goofy as hell. But as it progressed, it got me. And I mean, I think it's a solid show in the DCU universe that we have right now. That's kind of up and down, up and down. It's one of the better things that exist.
It is. I agree. I agree.
I love it.
Like a fun watch. Yeah.
And the fact that he wasn't sorry, go, Putty, go.
No, I was just gonna say, and like I said, they have a better realization. And I will say this, you know how like Marvel's very tight-knit about their stuff and their franchises. I like that Warner Brothers is like, you know what, let's go the adult content. Let's not be what Disney is, and also let's let them make fun of people. So like the Green Arrow brony joke, and then the Aquaman fucking fish.
Yeah,
that's stuff that
the best part of that joke was no. Actually, I heard that's true. about the brony.
Yeah. You mean it's not a rumor. Fuck you, Barry.
Fuck you, Barry.
Yeah, see,
I
and
love
it's
it.
like those little moments are good. I like that. It's like at the beginning where they treated Vigilante very different too in the early in the show, where he was just a can't do right, and
Yeah.
he was just a big bumbling idiot. But then all of a sudden, halfway through the show, he became like a competent hero.
Yeah.
In a sense, like more like Deadpool, where he says dumb things, but he gets the job done. Where in the beginning he was like, I literally can't do anything right. You know
Yeah, he
what
was
I
a
mean?
bumbling
Yeah,
idiot.
that was the confusing thing.
I'm gonna be honest, I hated every single moment of Eagly. I wish Eagly was
Really?
not part of the show. It's too stupid for me. I don't get it at all.
I get the charm of it and everything, but I mean, again, I'm not going to go out and buy Eagly stuff, but I feel like that's what it was for. It was to sell
for
stuff,
sure.
and I understand it, and it's still okay. Like compared, like I Groot and Baby Yoda, these are all cute things, and that okay, I get the charm of it, I like it. I feel Eagly's the more adult version of that, and I'm okay with that.
I will take Grogu any day over anybody.
Well, no, I will. I'm not.
I gotta say though,
but...
the effects on the eagle were fantastic.
Oh my god!
At points though, it was so bad that I like honestly wanted to throw up. There for like the contrast in it, where sometimes it was like, holy crap, look at that looks real, to like it's like they drew the cartoon on the screen, and it's like,
yeah.
It was the
like that scene where he's fighting economists in the car and he keeps pecking at him.
Yeah.
Like that was a great scene.
It was, but then there's the scene like right after where they're wandering in the woods, like trying to get away from the dad, and he's crawling next to them, and it looked like someone just drew him on the screen. But I mean,
there was no dimension to it.
There was a big contrast in CGI in the show that went from like ranging from like, holy crap, they did this for a TV show, to like, holy crap, this is definitely a CW show.
This is 1980s Doctor Who type effects.
Doctor Hoot, because it's an owl.
Right?
But it's an eagle. But I mean, it is what it is. I think all of us like this show. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth a watch. We're going to run out of time, so we're just going to end it. But I mean, anything you want to say, Putty, with a minute left?
I actually liked Eagly and the intro, but that's okay. We all are different.
The intro is terrible. I'll allow Eagly, but the intro, no. I hope they change it.
That thing's so catchy.
And on my TV, I couldn't skip it. I would have to fast forward, and I'm too lazy to fast forward. So
on Fire Stick, I had the skip intro button, and I did it every time.
Skip intro button, and I never skipped it.
My HBO didn't have skip. For that one show, for some reason, I couldn't skip on
dang.
Peacemaker.
Really? I was watching it on Crave. I was able to skip.
So was I, but I think maybe on the PlayStation it just wasn't like.
Oh no, on the PlayStation no, because I can't skip it on my Xbox.
Yeah, see.
Oh, see, that's it. Yep. There you go.
Anyways, go watch Yellow Jackets. It's a great show. And thank you for watching. Peace out.